Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Cassandra and I'm going to take you through this spicy core yoga class. So I actually did this kind of practice, I think 6 or 7 years ago on my channel. I'll be sure to link that old class down below. And I just figured it was a really good theme. I enjoyed doing it and it was probably time for me to film a brand new updated one. So as the name implies, spicy core is all about strengthening your core. We're really going to work on our abdominals, getting deep into our obliques, and we're also going to work on strengthening through our hip flexors as well as the muscles along the spine. So more of an intermediate strength-based practice. Props are not necessary. If you have 2 blocks at home, definitely grab them. So you'll notice I have them towards the top of my mat. Towards the end of the class, we're going to do a few poses that are just easier to do with blocks. But if you don't have blocks at home, don't let this stop you from doing the class. You can absolutely do the same poses and the same things that we'll be doing without your blocks. It just makes things a little bit easier. So a really great core strength-based routine. Let's begin by warming up our spine with a few rounds of cat and cow, but we're going to do this one on our forearms. So similar kind of movement, but instead of being up on the palms, you can just lower down so that I now have my elbows roughly underneath my shoulders. My palms are flat, and I'm just going to move through cat and cow. So inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, tailbone up. And as you exhale, round and contract. And doing this from our forearms can help to unlock a little bit more through the mid back and upper back. So really start to find that connection with your core. Connecting the movement with your breath. Seeing if you can open up a little bit more. Last cycle here. And we'll just make our way onto our bellies, coming into your Sphinx pose so you can stay up onto your forearms. Work on rolling your shoulders back, squeezing your shoulder blades behind you, actively pushing your feet into the floor in order to lift your chest up. So I don't want you to round and contract here. I really want you to pull your heart forward. And if you'd like, you can add a little quad stretch. So I'm going to bend into my right knee, reach back with my right hand, and try to pull that heel in towards the glute. If this feels like pinching or pain in your lower back, please leave this out. Just means that you've gone a little bit too far. And we can switch sides. So we'll be working our hip flexors quite a bit. So we want to try to open up the front of the legs first. And let's release, and let's just take puppy pose for a few breaths, getting into our shoulders, again, because we will be working quite a bit here. So keep your hips over your knees, walk your hands out in front of you, and just melt on down. And I'm going to keep my arms active here, which means my elbows are straight, and I'm actively working to push my chest and push my armpits down towards the mat. Try not to curve in your lower back, your lumbar spine too much. We're really focusing on the mid back and upper back here. And let's lift ourselves back up. And now walk your hands back a little bit. So I don't want you to be exactly in a tabletop pose. I want your hands to be slightly forward as if you were going to go into downward facing dog. And we're going to start tapping into abdominal strength right away. With your toes curled under, you're going to find hovering tabletop pose. So my spine, I have a flat back. From hovering table, you're going to straighten your legs into plank, back into hovering table, and then downward facing dog. And we'll do that same sequence about 5 times. So hovering table, engage your abdominals, straighten the legs to plank, keep your hips low, come back to hovering table, and lift up, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Stretch out through your legs 4 more times. Hover the knees. straighten your legs. Back to that table. Downward dog. 3 more. Hover. Straighten. Hover. And downward dog. You got it. Just twice more. Table to plank. Hovering table. Downward facing dog, push into your heels, lengthen out your arms. Last one, hovering tabletop pose. Draw the navel in, flat back, plank pose. Hovering table, and this time we're gonna hold our downward facing dog. So create some space here. You might want to kind of wag your tail side to side, bend into your knees, turn your head lightly side to side, whatever feels good. Breathing in and out through your nose. Let's reach our right leg up towards the sky. Bend your right knee. Open up your hip. Big thigh stretch here. And we're going to stoke that fire, knee to nose. Come forward to plank. Tap your knee to your nose. Round and contract. Inhale. 3-legged dog. Lift that leg up. Exhale. Pull it through. Same thing. Last one. Inhale. Lift. Exhale. Squeeze. And then go ahead and just drop your right knee and that shin down on the mat. Coming into a modified side plank, my right hand, palm is underneath the shoulder. I'm gonna roll to the inner edge of my left foot before reaching my left arm up. So just creating some space here, finding your alignment and your stability and balance in the pose. Now let's go ahead and bend our elbow, bring your left hand behind your head and go ahead and pick up that left leg off the mat. We're gonna crunch from here. So as you inhale, you stretch, and as you exhale, you're gonna bend and see if you can bring your elbow and your knee together to touch before inhaling back. 4 more like this. So really working through your obliques, through the left side. Try to stay stable in your base. 2 more. Last one, exhale, squeeze. Lengthen, and you can look down towards the mat. We're gonna step the left foot forward in between the palms to the top of the mat into your low lunge on vinyasa. My knee is over my ankle. I'm gonna lift up tall, really working on stretching through our hip flexors. So lengthen your tailbone down, lift out of your lower back, and from here, press your hips forward and down. Take 1 more big, deep breath. And we're going to make our way into Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. So you can curl the back toes under, spin your back heel parallel to the shorter edge of your mat, and lift on up. Palms facing down, keeping a deep, generous bend into that front leg. This is really just a transition pose, making our way to triangle. So you're going to straighten your front leg, and we're doing triangle to stretch through our obliques. So you can slide your left hand down and bring your right arm parallel. So you have your bicep along the ear. Getting a big stretch through the right side of your waist. And looking down to the floor, bend into your front knee, lower all the way down to the ground. And hold here. 3 baby cobras. You're going to push the tops of your feet into the floor. Lengthen tailbone back. Inhale, upper body lifts. Exhale to lower. Twice more. Really squeeze between your shoulder blades. And release. Let's add on. If this feels enough, just repeat that same thing a few more times. Otherwise, reach your arms out in front of you, palms facing in towards one another. Keep the back of your neck long. As you inhale, lift up right arm, left leg. Exhale to lower and just switch sides. Inhale, left arm, right leg this time. And lower, once more on each side. And downward facing dog. Press yourself back super strong. Reaching back through your heels. Stoking the fire, second side, reach your left leg up to the sky, bend your left knee, open up your hip. And we're gonna bring our knee to our nose, shift forward into your plank pose, really connect your thigh to your chest before reaching up and back twice more. Exhale forward, inhale up. Exhale, squeeze it in, hold here. You're just going to drop your left knee down. Your shin is anchored. You might need to move your hand so that it's really underneath your shoulders so that you maintain your balance here before finding your modified side plank. Right arm extends up towards the sky. Stacking your right shoulder over your left. And then let's bring our right hand behind the back of the head and squeeze through your glutes to lift that right leg up. As you exhale, you're gonna bend into your knee and crunch to the side, bringing your elbow and your knee together to touch. Inhale back to that starting position, 4 more. Really working right side waist. Twice more. Last one, exhale, squeeze and stretch. Look down to the mat, Anjaneyasana, your low lunge, right foot steps between the hands to the top of the mat. My knee is over my ankle as I rise up. Lengthen tailbone down, press your hips forward. Find an opening and a lift through your chest, still squeezing your shoulder blades behind you. Virabhadrasana 2, your warrior 2. Tuck the back toes under, spin your left foot parallel to the shorter edge of your mat before rising up. Into Trikonasana, your triangle pose. Straighten that front leg. You can slide that right hand down and continue to reach your left arm until you have the bicep along the ear. My palm is facing down, and I'm really just looking to stretch alongside the obliques from my left hip all the way to my left shoulder. Lowering down to the mat, down to your belly. Step the right foot back to meet the left, lower chaturanga all the way. 3 baby cobras, push into the tops of the feet. Inhale, chin, chest, palms off the mat. Exhale down twice more. And release. Slide your hands out in front of you or your arms out in front of you, palms facing towards one another. Inhale, left arm, right leg up. Exhale to lower and alternate as you switch. Once more on each side. Last one. Slide your palms back. This time, see if you can tuck your toes under. We're going to try to push ourselves up into a plank pose. I want you to activate your quads so that your kneecaps are lifted off the mat, and try to eliminate a big rounding in your lower back. Really reach your tailbone towards your knees, squeeze through your arms, push up, plank pose, downward facing dog. Relax your head and your neck. Let's come forward into our plank pose, and we're going to find full Vashisthasana side plank. So you're going to roll onto the outer edge of your right foot. If you can, you're going to find tree pose variation here by bringing your left foot to the inside of your thigh, reaching your left arm up. So lift your hips up as high as they'll go, and then maybe extend left arm up overhead, just like what we did in triangle. Now keep the tree pose legs. Find plank pose without changing or shifting your legs. So keep pushing your left foot into your right thigh. I know it's hard. And now listen carefully. You're just going to drop your left knee to the mat. Stay in that tree pose. Roll to the inner edge of your right foot and extend your right arm up. So similar to what we did in our first flow. Maybe this is enough for you. If you'd like to add on, you're going to bend. Once again, bring your hand behind your head. This time, see if you can crunch and tap and bring your left knee and your right elbow to connect.
Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Into your child's pose, balasana. Big toes together, knees as wide as you'd like. Press your hips back and fold. We're not here for very long, just to give yourself 5 breaths. I know that tree pose, side plank variation flow can be really challenging. So source all of that internal strength within you. And that was it for our break. Let's meet back downward facing dog. You're welcome to just hang out in downward dog, or if you'd like to take a vinyasa, we're going to do that now. Inhaling plank, exhale chaturanga, upward facing dog, and we all meet downward dog. Ready to go have fun on the second side. So side plank to the left this time. So you're going to roll to the outer edge of your left foot and then bring your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. Right arm up, and then maybe bicep along the ear so that you're really stretching out super long. Feel that connection of your foot and your thigh together. Keep squeezing them one against one another as you transition to plank pose, keeping vrikshasana legs. Very hard to talk and do this. You got this. And now let's drop the right knee down. Continue to roll to the inner edge of that left foot. Find the stability on your right hand, left arm up. We're going to bend the elbow, bring your hand behind your head. You really need to push into your left foot to crunch. Tap knee and elbow together. And hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A little child's pose break once more. Big toes together, knees apart. Press your hips back. 5 breaths here. Let go of any tension that's building up, maybe in your neck or your shoulders or your jaw. You are more than halfway through. We only have one last little strengthening sequence before we cool down and stretch everything out. So you can definitely do this. Downward facing dog, maybe with a flow, or feel free to leave it out and just hang out in your down dog. Plank, chaturanga, urdhva mukha svanasana, adho mukha svanasana. Push back into your heels. And let's go ahead and bring our knees down to the mat. If you have your blocks, please grab a hold of them. And you can cross just so that you're sitting cross-legged. So you can do this with or without blocks. Blocks definitely make it easier. So you can bring them beside your hips, underneath your palms. We're going to work at picking ourselves up. So you're going to squeeze your thighs in towards your belly. You're going to push your hands into the block, and maybe you just work at lifting your hips and your feet stay on the floor, or you work at squeezing and lifting everything up. If you don't have the blocks, it is still possible to pick everything up. It's just a lot harder to do it. So you can work simply on just lifting your seat off of the ground. Okay, get ready. Choose if you're using props or not. Start by lifting your hips first. Squeeze your thighs towards your belly, and then maybe lift everything up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. We're going to do it one more time. Change the cross of the legs. Hands on your blocks. Push into the blocks or into the floor. Lift your seat up. Squeeze your thighs in and pick up. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Stretch your legs out in front of you. I'm going to take a passive forward fold, meaning I'm going to let my spine round. I'm turning my palms to face up, and I'm just releasing, stretching the entire posterior chain. So all the muscles along the back body. And I'm keeping my feet a little bit flexed to really work those back muscles, even under the feet. 5 deep breaths here. And walk your hands in, start to lift yourself up. And let's come into our reverse tabletop pose. Again, this can be done with or without blocks. So you can just have your hands on the floor or on your blocks. Bend your knees, feet hip-width distance apart. Squeeze through your glutes to lift your seat up. Getting a big stretch through your shoulders. And now from here, straighten your legs, send your hips back. And if you can, pick up with straight legs. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Forward fold once more. Release down. Soften your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. Walking your hands in. And we're not going to do the pickup this time, but you're either going to repeat reverse tabletop pose or you can do reverse plank. Again, with or without your blocks. Just as long as you have your palms alongside your hips, roughly underneath your shoulders. So if you're doing reverse plank, just keep your legs straight, squeeze and lift. And release. Move your blocks off to the side. We won't be needing them. And see if you can scooch forward. And we're going to lower down with control. Arms out in front of you. Round here and really contract. Point through your toes and take your time to lower nice and slow. Try not to hover your heels off the mat. And arms reach up overhead, big stretch here. Let's come into banana pose. This is a yin yoga pose, really wonderful, especially because we've done a lot of oblique stuff. So you can just move your hips over to the right and make a little banana shape with your body by bringing your chest and shoulders over to the left. You can also walk your ankles and your feet to the left. Push that right hip down. So don't let yourself roll over to the left side. Arms can reach up overhead. So all we're looking for here is as if you were doing a standing side bend. So a stretch from your right shoulder, down the waist, into your right hip. And for some people, they'll feel it also down the thigh. Starting to slow down our practice. And you can uncross and do this pose to the other side. So shift your hips to the left, bring your upper body and your feet to the right. Really push your left hip down and maybe cross your left ankle. You might notice you feel more on one side than the other. Relaxing fully here. There is no effort required in this pose. One more big belly breath. And we can come back through to center. Bend your knees, feet flat on the floor. Just take a little bridge pose. Bringing our pelvis back to neutral. Push your feet into the floor. Squeeze and lift. And you don't really need to be lifting super high up. I like to do bridge pose just to stabilize through the pelvis at the end of class. And lowering down. Happy baby, Ananda Balasana. Maybe you're just bringing your knees towards your shoulders, or you're grabbing a hold of your feet and lifting them up. Try to keep your tailbone pressing down towards the floor. Any variation of this pose that you'd like. So you can straighten the legs, maybe one at a time, maybe both. And let's release. Before we come to Shavasana, it might feel good just to do a little windshield wiper motion with your knees. Releasing any tension from your lower back. And we'll ease ourselves into this final relaxation pose. Take up some space. Get really comfortable and settled. Slowing down your breath. Using this time as a moment of self-inquiry and self-reflection. To be truly grateful for all of the effort that you've put into this class. Even if it was really challenging, recognize the hard work that you've done. And give yourself this gift of rest for about 2 more minutes here together. Breathe a little deeper. Wiggle fingers and toes. Bring some movement back into your body, maybe stretching your arms up overhead. And we'll roll to one side so we can push ourselves up. Taking a seat. Closing your eyes, hands at your heart. Feeling the effects of your practice. Noticing what has changed.
And let's close together by chanting Om one time. Inhale to chant, breathe in deeply. Thank you so very much, everyone, for doing this new and updated spicy core yoga practice. I will link the old one down below if you wanted to give it a try. It's very different from this one, but again, working on your abdominals. I'd love to know how this one went for you. Leave me a comment before you go, and hopefully we'll practice again together very soon.